for YouTube to wake up. And come on, everybody. Let's wake up.
Wake up, people.
Here we go. Here we go. Instagram just woke up. And oh, here comes YouTube. And we're live. Good morning, Jake.
We're alive.
We're
Good
live.
morning. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Making Turbo Pit Fighter, sci-fi post-apocalyptic treat for the senses. We are making a regular comic book, slowly but surely, and we're going to be penciling and inking in split screen for you as we talk about the comic and other things. That's what we do. We are live every Sunday on Instagram and YouTube. And if you're watching us on Instagram and you want to see everything, you're probably only seeing a thin strip of what we're showing. You should saunter on over to YouTube where you can see both of our full screens or both of our split screens. Kurt, I see that you are still on the Kromita two-pager, but that you're getting towards the last page and that you're doing your
I got
80%.
both. It's my no 80%'s done. These pages are scanned, and I will be laying in my liquid masking, which is basically everything I want to preserve white. And then I do my graphite wash, and then embellish a lot more of the gray values in order to get the feeling that I have about how this thing should look. Technical question, or just basically you making an ultimate decision between these two fonts? Though I know you are going to say I can find a better font, but we have Kromita when she busts through to save the child from the molester. It's a computer font. I did not want to write in hand the computer font because I would just rather grab the text in a printed, robot font. I found two. I just gave you these kind of samples. Of course, I can shrink it down, cut it out, and then glue it in.
All right. So
to get us there.
technical question for Kromita. This is just a matter of taste or aesthetics. I don't like using any fonts that are recognizably from a computer. But if you trace it and you use that as the basis and you just bring it through the hand filter, that would be my ideal. Now, with that said, well, you're if you're tracing it, you're bringing it through a human iteration and
I see.
giving it the human imperfections that a computer doesn't have. That said, you can make the final decision, but
Okay.
that's what I would do. I would take the time. I usually take the time. Like whenever just here on this, I was doing number one, mature readers, just this little stuff. I roughed it up a little bit. I made it blurry, then I made it sharp, then I made it blurry, then I made it sharp. I just don't want it to be, the straight font that somebody types out. But I know there's also time considerations. So that's my 2 cents. And I also wanted to mention Deathlock because people that are our age know it was a real big deal, and it was so gimmicky and fun when the first Deathlock the Destroyer came out, because they, for the first time ever, used a computer font in a comic book.
Oh, I
And
love that.
this was like the mid to late 70s, and it was like, whoa, the computer's talking.
Yeah.
That's not the human brain of Deathlock. That's the computer.
Amazing. So amazing.
So that Deathlock, right? So you have the green light to use that Deathlock font anytime.
Okay.
But people might notice that I'm holding a print here, a color print. I went to Staples and I got a bunch of these made for the show. We're going to be selling these color prints, and they can be signed and personalized on the back. But I'm this is going to be the final cover of Turbo Pit Fighter #1. We're revealing it now for the first time. because Kurt told me, Jake, put something out down on the board so that we have a good cover graphic for our YouTube video. So this is going to be the new. This is the new. This full color cover was made a long time ago, but the masthead is brand new, and all of this and this logo, this Doom Magazine's logo is brand new, as of this year, and this is going to be what it looks like. So if folks want a sneak preview, you could also buy these prints. We're going to have a couple of these at the show. So now I can get rid of that. Kurt, we have a new kind of format when we're like 10 minutes away from going live. You text me and you say, "Hey, what's going to be on the rundown for today's show?" We need to put something in writing before we go live, no matter what twists and turns the actual episode takes. So what did we write for our caption?
80% inked Kromita 2-pager, and let's remember Don Perlin.
Oh yeah, we got to get some. Let me see if I have my I have my my this. So the 80% inking refers to Kurt being Kurt is he's been on a Kromita detour for a couple of weeks. This is going to be the 2-pager that we contribute to the Funk zine, or the Funk anthology, which I saw the first issue is already out. And that's our pal, Alexander Turbin is publishing, and we are making a 2-pager for an upcoming issue of Funk. And I think he mentioned that he's going to put a couple issues out of Funk so that it's kind of off and running before he starts doing any promotion and crowdfunding.
I think he said three
Yeah.
in the
Is that what he said? Right. He's gonna get 3 in the bag, and then I guess Kickstarter or Indiegogo or whatever. But that's going to be kind of a different project because it is a series of 2-pagers. It's going to be like 12 2-pagers or something like that, he said.
Sounds familiar,
yeah. So we'll be in issue number 2 or issue number 3, and maybe 2 is already put to bed, and he's already working on 3. But we'll have an Alex Turbin update in the near future. You can count on that. We have him up here joining us as our 3rd member every once in a while. So we'll do the big catch up with him. In the meantime, Kromita is I've been planning what this is right here is I just want to show, like, if you take this is how I've been trying to organize my thinking lately. If you take a piece of paper and you go like this, right, and you make a section of it that's going to be in half, and then 1, 2, 3, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages here, and then here you have some notes, some room for notes. And as simple as this, you can just rough out. So this is called the Marvel method, right? You're just going to rough out, okay, there's a girl trapped in an airport. Here, Esoterra breaks down the door. Here, Hellclaw bursts in. Here, Kromita comes in and wipes out the bad guys. Here, there's a page of explanation, and then here, the new what do we call it? Candidate. The new candidate for enhancement is featured, right? Boom! I just laid out the basic outline of a 6-pager. And then you go in and you add some dialogue and you add some details. This can be done in collaboration with 2 people or by yourself, and then like type up this a full script, which does take a little while. But this is what I'm thinking right now when I'm upstairs and I'm doing my sketching, because I want to have my third 6-pager ready for the con. We already have 2 6-pagers ready. The problem that I'm encountering is that I'm working with the characters that Kurt is drawing. On page 2, he has Esoteric, Kromita, and Hellclaw. Those are the casualties. And I'm trying to get a 6-pager together, and all I keep doing is making myself these cool tangents that are going to be chapters for the Substack that are just going to be prose, and I can't really get the action sequences together in my mind yet that I want. So I'm still working on some breakdowns, but I'm weighing whether to introduce this new character who's going to wield the cleaver. Her name is going to be Charvel, and she's going to be the first human that is enhanced by 15-year-old Elevena, and Esoterra, of course, is a mature adult, but Esoterra will take her under the wing, give her the cleaver, send her on revenge missions, and do all this stuff. And I'm just trying to think about, should I isolate 6 pages of all that into like some action sequences, or should I make the 6-pager the attack on the Q Druid compound, where the cleaver is going to be found, and the distress signal is sent out, so the one survivor contacts Esoterra and lets her know that there's a mass assassination going on. Is that more action packed? And as I lay out these pages, you can see what it looks like here, right? So 1 panel, 2 panels, 3 panels, 4 panels, 5 panels, 1 panel, 2 panel, 3 panel, 4 panel, 5 panels. I'm like poo-pooing it. I'm like, no, this isn't action packed enough for my next 6-pager. This is all just going to be sequences on the Substack, and that's going to be written up. And what do we isolate for 6-pagers, because I want them just to be just full of action. Like if I go to Ken Landgraf or somebody like that, and I say, here's a 6-page script, I'm going to pay you to do it. I don't want it to be standing around, Yeah. I want it to be like.
Although he does some incredible montaging stuff. There was somebody who was just making comments on their channel, looking at some of his stuff, and back in what was it? I guess it was Outlaws, New York City Outlaws, something else, but yeah, it was. I wouldn't underestimate him, for making something graphically pleasing to the eye. But I can also hear your personal artistic frustration in the balancing act one has to do in informing the story, the reader, and entertaining. It's the whole like education versus entertaining, and a balance,
And then you also have this handoff moment, right? Because if I take my art fund of all this stuff I've been selling on eBay, I say, damn it, I have to get Ken Landgraf, a 6 from Ken Landgraf before God forbid something happens to either one of us. That's definitely my bucket list. That handoff, it's like you can't just give him the script and say, look, there's these 3 characters, Esoterra, Hellclaw, and Kromita. He's got to have character studies for each one, right?
Well, can I interrupt?
Yeah.
I have a 4-page Crom the Barbarian comic that will be coming in my Crom anthology later.
And you're going to say you're doing the opposite. You're just leaving it to the person.
No. Well, what I did was I have a decent conversation with him ever so often about comics. Like I have a question, he shares. He's just a wealth of goddamn comic book history and knowledge. He had sent me that he had done like a 2-pager for somebody like years ago, and it looked like Crom the Barbarian. So basically what I did was I wrote a 4-pager based on the 2-pager, but totally went in my own direction, but gave him the reference material So the visual material that he had already done, and he went to town and he bing, blew it out of water.
Wait, so wait, hold on. Can we just discography now? What have you, in all of history, what have you gotten from Ken Landgraf so far?
I have a cover for Crumb the Barbarian. He was one of 5.
Right.
He's one of
I remember
5.
that one. There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
then,
the way. Show it.
Sorry.
This is Ken Landgraf's inimitable style, black and white, just outlaw style,
these
like
zips,
better than
Xerox zips. I'm
better than Power Comic. You see so many influences. He was an experienced pro, right in the trenches. Marvel, Wolverine. I see a lot of Wally Wood. I see a lot of underground. I see great influences. But you got this cover done, and then the second thing is the 4-pager that's being made.
Yep.
Okay.
No, it's done.
Oh, it's done.
I have it. I am not showing anything to anybody until I am closer to publishing.
Right. Okay.
My Crom anthology.
You're sitting on it. Okay.
It's oh yeah. I mean, that was like, save the funds up, and as soon as I reached the quote, because he gave me the quote, and I just like bing. All right, I got the quote, so I contacted him. I said, "You ready?" And he's like, "Yep." Send the funds. Let's go.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to meet him for the first time in at IX. I am just fanboying myself to no end, staying up sleeplessly on how not to be a dork.
Right. And
56 years old, being like, oh, but like I said, we already have a conversation going, and I have been trying to understudy with him. With his inking style.
Yeah.
So that's the majority of my conversations have been like, because by the way, link in the description down below on YouTube. One of the top 5 YouTube channels I watch right now is Ken Landgraf inking. It's for me, it's a total absorption thing.
I've told this before, but I used to.
But he'll do things, and I'll be like, "What the hell did he just do?" And then I email him, and he's like, "Oh, that's what Wally Wood used to do." And what I do, here's the thing, and there's it. I'm like, holy shit.
I've told the story before, but in the 80s, Ken used to have an ad on the back of the Village Voice, comic lessons, and I think it was like $25, and come in. You go to his house on it was like 20-something Street. Maybe I shouldn't say it on if he still lives there, but it was in Chelsea. He was near the police academy, I remember. And you go in, and he has maybe a couple of people there, and he's like, "All right," and then he starts inking stuff right in front of you, and giving lessons. And I remember him giving the lesson of you got to get this certain mechanical pencil. We're gonna do faces. You're going to learn like a tried and true way to draw faces consistently. And then, there was a couple of people there doing it. And like, I had like mastered it within like 5 minutes. And he was like, "Oh, you're jumping ahead." So that was like so many years ago. And, I'm sure Ken had hundreds of people come through his house, that he inspired. But yeah. Not to get too off the rails, but if people just want to Google Ken Landgraf, he's got a wealth of comics available, and you could also get commissions on eBay. I think he had that on the regular too. So I'm now jumping back in.
Going back to your original statement there about giving somebody like Ken Landgraf, a 6-pager to create. The only reason I jumped in there is I think you're the one that's responsible. And when I say you, the writer, creator, idea guy, to inform as much as possible without over informing.
Yeah.
So, and you, sir, I got to constantly keep bringing you back to reality. Your doodles alone with your writing, hence, everybody go to doommags.substack.com. I have always found them immersive enough to get me going. Now, I will put this warning out to anybody that works with Jake Jacobs he is OCD. He is OCD. He does have very particular ideas about what a comic should look like. And aesthetically, it's that Marvel 20 cent.
20 cent Marvel.
You know what I mean? Like, so do your homework. Future artists working with Jake, but his feedback is comparable to getting a professional comic book editor to give you feedback. And correction is one thing, but direction is heavier.
Right.
So, and I lived through that, and in the past when we worked together.
Yeah.
And I live with it now, and I enjoy it. So
people can see this every week when Kurt and I get together. It's one thing to have OCD. It's another thing to have OCD and ADD. It's another thing when the OCD thread through the ADD. So you have OACDDD, whatever. But if you're collaborating with somebody, there's always a give and take, and you can lay out what you wish and what you expect, and then there's always a give and take, and it depends who you're working with. You might want to give somebody like Ken Landgraf's like, wow, I would like to just give him a description of the characters and let him dream up. But then you're getting into like, who he's designing a character, that's different, right? So you just figure out a way to work it out so that you just get the pages done and everybody's happy. It doesn't have to be Ken Landgraf. We could be talking about an overseas merc. We could be talking about an established artist who has commissions open or has or is doing pages. A 6-pager is a nice little bite-size project for somebody that might want to just dip a toe in the water with a collaboration with somebody new, and it's more than a pinup, and you're talking a couple $100 at least. And if you're doing a page rate thing versus like a partnership or some kind of collab, and then when you have it done, you can do a lot of different things with it, like we've been talking about. You can publish it. You can make a deal where both people can publish it in their own venues. You can make a deal where both people have the rights to reproduce, distribute, digitally or in print, and this way it's like, some value there. Hey, this is a 6-pager I can always use. I can put it in my anthology 5 years from now, So, the question is, how do you create value for both people, and what's the specifics of the deal if you are going to a page rate, or some kind of like contract agreement or some kind of agreement. But these are all the things that we ponder. So, Kurt, one thing in the rundown that I sent you were asking me for prompts, was I have an idea that maybe this is being done elsewhere, but I've never heard of it. You have 2 different versions of your comic, right? Let's say we put out Turbo #1, or let's say it's somebody that puts out stuff more frequently, like Alex Turbin. If you say, all right, this is this new series, here's #1, but this has cover A. If you want to get #2 with cover B, it's much, much rarer because it costs more money. And the reason why it costs more money is not just this stupid thing where you're introducing rarity artificially to just try to make some kind of secondary market. It's because ownership of that cover, of that version, entitles the bearer to a free copy shipped to their door in the US of the second issue. when it comes when and when if and when it comes out, and I put if and when it comes out just because you can get run over by a truck and then everything's void. But if you're alive, you're still you still owe all these. Now you might sell 50 copies of this, 100 copies of this, and we see with Kickstarter. Like, I was amazed when you told me how many of these Kickstarters go belly up, and people just
They don't get fulfilled.
yeah, people lose their investment, and like, who knew this was like gambling on a casino? But the stats are the stats. So this would be somebody investing in a creator or a publisher and say, yes, I not only like this comic now, I want to prepay in full for a copy, of the next issue, and I'm willing to do it right here, right now. What do you think?
Yes. Well, no. Stop. Just stop.
Okay.
I have no interest in speculating things that aren't created. Now, what I thought you were going to say, which is something I'm often saying, is that the interior itself is a variation with that variation cover. And you can play with the material over time, like the whole idea of like edit and expanding upon material. I personally am I making a comic book in America professionally is dead to me. I have no interest in trying to make something speculative and enter the market through a comic book store and hope people are going to grab it and blah, 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 blah. I have done enough marketing research to know it is impossible to do. Impossible in the traction of making a living at it. You can do it. It's just, as a one-man band or one-person band, it is impossible. But the thing I am interested in, which is what we're actually doing right here and right now, is let people in, the behind the scenes, the creative process, the thinking between the creators and the outcome of making comic book art, which we're doing side by side on the same comic book title. Just so everybody's aware, if you just jumped in for the first time, these are pages that are affiliated with the pages that Jake is penciling right now. Jake is the majority of the writing and the penciling. I'm the inking and the marketing, running the podcast and stuff. But the other thing is the community itself. The people who I really am banking on a certain number of people in indie comics, especially because we're going to be at IC3 2025.
Well, but the majority of people that see this are going to be watching this after that convention is done.
Matter. We're going to be doing this every year.
Right.
The thing about IC3 is it's really the first time you and I are merging into. I mean, I already have, as a matter of fact, where our table is. Which is right here. It's R2-4.
Well, this is in 2025, but in future
2025.
In future years.
Okay. But there's going to be we are going to get what's referred to in marketing as super fans. There are going to be people who are going to become emotionally attached to what we're making and the things that we have been doing, especially with the Substack, Doom Mag Substack, and and this video, this podcast alone. Those are the people we should be making and marketing to then as it goes,
right?
Because they will end up doing what's called an echo chamber, which will be going from there. So, long story short, stop thinking you're going to create some kind of cool thing. Just stop. Just don't even waste your time.
All right, let's have one more back and forth on this. I'll say one more thing, and then Kurt will have the last word. I wasn't really thinking of ourselves, because we're going about this very, very slow. As you know, Diamond Distribution is in a state of bankruptcy that they may or may not emerge from, They're kind of running on fumes right now. Nobody's sure. Marvel and DC are going to have their distribution. What are other people going to do? We know that Kickstarter is like at this point serving like half of the indie comic book industry as or you're right, and then you throw Indiegogo and there's a couple other burgeoning platforms. So
Fund my comic.
right now, since the dawn of time, artists have sought patrons, right, to fund them and like to trust them, like to create, and because they have talent, and the other person believes in them, they have a lot of disposable money, or they have some disposable money, and they make an arrangement. So the question is, going forward, we are moving towards a lot more subscription models, not just in art, but like you could buy a box of cereal now. I bought a box of cereal the other day, and it was like, okay, would you like a 25% discount to get a subscription to this cereal? I'm like, I'm subscribing to cereal now, and there's like, yes, they will send you a box in every month, if you subscribe. And I'm like, all right, so a lot of businesses are moving towards subscription model. In fact, even car companies are playing around with subscription model, where basically you get a new model every couple of years, but it's kind of like combining buying and leasing. So in business, there's a million ways to structure things. My only suggestion is that if you right, one of the biggest barriers, we spoke about this with Alex, one of the biggest barriers right now is not printing, it's shipping. Shipping is more than the printing now. So if you have somebody at a table, point of purchase, they call it POP, and they're buying your one product, why not sign them up for the next go around? And this is not going to be the bulk of your customers. The bulk of your customers is going to buy version A. And you're also right that, it doesn't have to be the cover that's different. It could be a special insides. It could be just a certificate on the back. It could be whatever. But, you're buying the first thing, and you're pre-buying the second thing, and you're paying, probably double or more, for that investment, just like you pay more on Kickstarter. So now that's my final pitch, and I'm not saying for us, I'm not saying for me, but I'm saying, like, is this a model that could benefit, not just the buyer but the seller, so that they can, just get surprised out of the blue. Oh, I forgot about this. This was a year ago or 2 years ago. Now I'm getting this thing in the mail fulfilled that I prepaid, because I was a founding, supporter of this project. What do you think?
I just don't. There's way too many variables that we have already experienced in the comic book industry of non-fulfillment for somebody just to give somebody some money hoping they're going to get a comic book a year and a half from now.
Well, if that's the case, what would be the difference between that and buying a rarity cover where they charging $25 for the same thing that's right next to it for $4.99?
Well, that's already there. It's already in existence.
Right, but this is also a rarity, as far as numbers printed, right? You have a fraction of the numbers printed of this special edition, so you could just call it a day and say that. And if I ever get anything in the mail in the future, it'll be a bonus. Consider it gravy.
I don't. It's gimmicky. It's just way too gimmicky. The comic books is such an immature business model from the beginning. It's always found something to latch into, whether it's cereal or the United States Army, or it's always found some way to stay alive, in order to exist. But I'm just saying, like, as an art form, just like expressing yourself and sharing your ideas and your art, and your story, I think it's good enough. I think it's good enough. I think the reality is how many people have the attention or interest in order to invest not only their money but their time. I hear more people on comic book talking YouTube podcasts say this phrase: "Oh God, I wish I had more time to read that comic."
Right.
because they have a whole world. They have the magnetic connection to other content, just definitely like television. I'm combating it right now. I'm trying to figure out how to not just spend the last like hour and a half before I go to bed after my wife and I watch television, just mindlessly surfing through YouTube. Now, most of the time, I'm successful on YouTube finding things because I have very specific interests, and so therefore I can find more of that, and that's one thing. But to be able to have content that is, I guess, just like more absorbing for me, like walking away going, oh wow, that was really cool, oh wow.
So that is,
instead of just being entertained, like being mesmerized by the moving pictures and colors and sound.
okay. So that, folks, was a give and take. I would just, the one last thing I would say, you heard two opinions. The one last thing I would say is that, for my design of this idea, whether this has been tried somewhere or not, it's anti-gimmicky, because instead of getting a rarity cover, which is gimmicky, you're actually getting something tangible in your hand, which is more of a solidifying a relationship between a creator and a customer. Especially if the trust is established, you could conceivably do this for issue 3 too. You could say, "Oh, this worked out so well. Do you want to buy issue 3 now?" Yeah. So, we have the crowdfunding model that is up and mature, and it is gaining steam. But there's a lot of different ways to explore, especially if you want to reduce a visit, right? You want to, if you have somebody right there at your table, he can now buy.
Sign up for the newsletter.
Right.
Have a newsletter, and once again, provide something for them. We do have a newsletter.
Right.
Just so everybody knows, DoomAg's Substack is our newsletter. And it's giving you entertainment, albeit it probably will take you a minute and a half to 5 minutes at the most to navigate through what Jake has put together in the way of text and doodle images. But it's in the marketing world. They say the number one thing that has been tried and true is the email, is newsletter. There's nothing beating it. Right now, there are some kind of like group chats on Instagram or TikTok and whatnot. These are viable places to bring attention, hold attention, and go from there. The reason I say gimmicky is you're still trying to secure funds ahead of time for something that does not physically exist.
Right.
And that's, I think, a very dangerous thing to market, because so many people have been burned on it already in the industry that it's very difficult to even get a Kickstarter successfully funded or overfunded if nothing has been completed. And it's just something you want because you want other people to pay you.
Right. Well, that's folks. That is the discussion. We're going to move on. I hope that somebody benefited somewhere from that. We're going to move on. It's just so we're managing our time. We're going to move on to Don Perlin, R.I.P. This is a name that you probably know from Marvel Comics, and I'm just looking here. Here, let me put this front and center. Don Perlin, I thought he was most well known for Werewolf by Night and then Moon Knight, which crossed over with Werewolf by Night. And those are both characters that I love. I always liked Moon Knight. I don't like what it's become recently, but I used to love Moon Knight. A lot of good runs on Moon Knight, Bill Sienkiewicz. But here it starts out, he did the cover of the first Marvel Spotlight on Moon Knight. Now, this wasn't his first appearance per se, but it was his first, I guess, solo issue. And I don't know why, but yeah. So here's Don Perlin's art. I'm trying to show it to you nice and big. Um, this looks like a. Oh wait, this is Bob Sharon over Don Perlin. So this is like a. This is like. Um, let's get something better here. Here's Don Perlin, the cover of Ghost Rider, The Demon Within, right? And he was an older guy. He's been working for Marvel and other companies since the 70s, I guess. Maybe earlier. He was born in 1929, it says. And he died at some point in late 2024. Let's get into some cool art here. Some of the best art is the art that he makes at later in life at conventions and stuff. Here's Ghost Rider and a Werewolf by Night with tentacles on a cliff and a lot of detail. Then this is signed by Don Perlin. This is in the Comics Journal. He worked for Valiant. He worked here. This is Bloodshot. And you can see his style. I'm not so sure about his faces. His faces seem a little underdeveloped. But he was there. He was one of the guys that was there. Here he is doing the Defenders. He did exteriors and interiors for the Defenders, I remember. So he was one of the bullpen guys. And I don't know, if his legacy will be as strong, posthumously as it was when he was alive. But he's got some great credits, and he was in the right place at the right time. Kurt, any Don Perlin stories come to mind?
Until you sent it to me.
Right, you haven't thought about him for a
Zero.
long.
Yeah,
Right.
zero. Yeah, see, I mean, a friendly reminder. I didn't grow up on comic books. Savage Sword, um, Conan Barbarian, and then Heavy Metal Magazine was the majority of what I was spending my money on. But like when you brought up Deathlock and using the cutting, I did a short time. I would spend my time with comics.
Yeah.
Teen Titans, X-Men. It was, that was probably between like 13 and 15 or something like that. But nah.
No. Here he's doing Peter Parker. I don't know if this is Spider-Man but it's Peter Parker. All right, well,
But that time frame that you're bringing up. It is the sweet spot. It is the 70s. They're trying things, especially when it came to character and titles. And if you're trying to be a professional and make a living at it, you really have to connect to the Marvel house style. And for what you're showing me right now, bang on.
Right. Here is right.
It's
So
just solid stuff. It's incredible stuff.
yeah, here's a Defender's first page. His artwork. Let's face it. It's not as good as Neil Adams or John Buscema. It's not as stylistic as Jack Kirby or Steve Ditko. He's just this is kind of like a Ken Landgraf thing where he was just trying to fill in that professional guy that Marvel could call on. And when you do that, you get to work on, here's Doctor Strange, the Hulk, Submariner, Silver Surfer, and Clea, and whoever this guy is, all held in captivity by these demons on an otherworldly plane. I mean, give me a break. This is so cool. But just as an art teacher, I do notice his characters are a little stiff. There's no photo references. There's no model references. Like this arm looks a little short, Hulk looks a little bit stodgy, right? Some of these characters look stiff and stodgy, but it's fine storytelling, for like, Defenders number, 58 or whatever. And, let's just take a moment here to remember, as my computer gets completely stuck, to remember Don Perlin. Here's his picture. This was a guy that was in the field that we all love, and he lived his whole life. Apparently, I don't know. I haven't seen like a bio or anything, but he apparently he lived his whole life doing this. Here we can see there's some romance comics from Charlton. So now I'm going to say we're getting into 15-cent territory. I'm going to say this guy's in the 60s now, right? Because he was, oh no, this is 1971. Sorry, just missed it. Wow, 15 cents in 1971. It must have been right before they went to 20 cents. But here's, look, Don Perlin, just married, and there's a lot more focus now. So now we're getting to other artists, but there's a lot more focus on these romance comics, folks, because drawing faces reliably and repeatably is a great skill that people are just like coming to appreciate.
Underestimated
Yeah,
skill.
when you read these books about like, I was watching a YouTube video. They were like, Jack Kirby, when he first got to DC, they went over his faces, and he was doing Superman, Jimmy Olsen, all these characters, and they had some like house guy like redo the faces because they thought Jack Kirby's faces were too weird. So if you can do faces reliably and consistently, yeah, you know that's what these editors wanted. All right, so let's just close these down. See if we missed anything. Cool stories. I think his greatest run must have been, Werewolf by Night and Moon Knight, but he did Solar Man of the Atom for Valiant, Solar guy, and here he is doing some Man Thing. Or this looks like Man Thing anyway. Is that Man Thing? Demonic Man Thing, 1972. So that's it. Just wanted to take a little trip down memory lane for indulgence and remembering Don Perlin. Next, I would be remiss, Kurt, if I didn't notify you that I ordered and received the 24-pack of Sharpie Creative Markers.
God damn you. Let me see the color selection.
Right, exactly. We have been ranting and raving about these. Now, this is the 12-pack that I bought in Staples for $19.99, and then Kurt found for $17.99. And these are amazing acrylic brush markers with a fine point, and it keeps the point. It allows you to draw really, really thin, really, really thick, nice and smooth and slippery. And we've been putting these through their paces. I still haven't run out of one marker yet. So there's actually some ink in the tank to use. It's it never gets stuck. I haven't gotten like like scratchy or anything yet. So I'm still in the honeymoon phase, and so I reached down and ordered this. Now you got to look at the fine print, Kurt, because it wasn't like what you told me. Like there's a 24-pack and that's that. If you look closely, there's the 12-pack of the brush tip, but the other 12 are the bullet tip. And you don't want the bullet tip over the brush tip. If you can get the brush tip, get the brush tip. Bullet tip, you can still do a variable line, but you have to be a lot more careful how you angle it. So now what everybody wants to know is what are the fashion colors? When you open up the package here, you see the brush pens are on one side, and these are the exact same colors as the 12-pack, right? Which is black, white, red, green, blue. Then you get a gray, a purple, a teal, a green, an aqua, and this kind of like ambery, orangey, pumpkin-y color, and pink. So that's 12 right there. Okay, now the bullet tips. They are thicker in the barrel. And of course there's a bullet tip. It's not a spring tip. So Sharpie Creative Markers have some amazing new technology, folks, where the paint is always on the tip. And I don't know how they do that. You don't have to shake it. You don't have to spring load it or anything. It's just there. Now, when you buy the 12-pack of Sharpie bullet tips, it's the same colors as the brush pen. So buying the 24-pack is the only way to get all these alternate colors. And let's see what we're dealing with here. Okay. So
Oh, wow.
first we have this tan color or sand or whatever they call it. It's kind of goldish. I'm not loving this color, but you know, if you're getting 12, you can say all right. You can give one in the brown family. Here's a slate blue. I want to call it a slate blue. Interesting, kind of like a dusky midnight blue, like a bluish grayish. Now this teal is coming dangerously close to the other teal. No, so it's a little brighter, a little more saturated than this other teal. And you know, this really matters to me, Kurt, because when I was playing around with these Sharpie creative markers with the brush, I was doing some faces and everything. Here's the difference between the two teals. You really are limited by the color palette. You know, black, white, red, green, yellow, and then it's like, all right, I want to play around with some, you know, exotic colors here. So let's see what else we got. We have, this is nice. It's a very, very light kind of light orangey color. That's great. I love light colors. Remember, you
Push it
can.
all up. You're like off camera. Push it.
Oh, sorry.
There you go. Thank
Remember,
you.
you can smudge these with your finger or with with a tool or something. So this is a really nice color right here. Love this. A dark orange. I don't know. This is like a blood orange. Okay.
Is that tip? Those are brush tips, or these are the bullet tips?
Bullet tips.
But are they flexible? Is the tip flexible, or is it?
Yeah,
hard?
they're flexible. Yeah,
it's flexible. Well, why?
Yeah.
I don't understand why they. Why are they doing
this is great. This is like a very light aqua turquoise.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you the difference because the other aqua on the brush tip is like this, and
yeah.
this is much more pastel-y. So this is why this is so much more valuable. This pink here, I don't know if I'm gonna get too much out of that. There's two purpley-ishes, so let's see the difference. You got one which is like a lavender, like a mid lavender, and then this one. Oh, look at that! A light lavender.
Geez.
Love that.
Light gray. Yeah.
Bonus content, and let's just compare that to. They don't have anything to compare that in the brushes.
Yeah, they got dark purple. There's a dark purple.
Yeah, there's a dark purple. So this is a real compliment to those. Here is a sky blue, super light. This is great. This is more like a baby blue. The cat looks like a little darker to me. A beautiful baby blue. That's great. And here is a very, very light green. And finally a pastel yellow. Love it. Oh, I'm so happy. So this is what you need. This is what was missing. Folks, don't buy this. My recommendation is splurge. I think it was like $32.99. I would splurge. You get 24 pack, and you get a whole. You know, these colors are going to make all the difference between an actual artwork. You know, these colors are very limiting, and I might only use these for like outlines and stuff. You know, if not for this, you know, this light turquoise here and this pumpkin color. And then there was this pink here. The pink on the brush it's nice, you know, on the way to being a hot pink. But yeah, much better here this way. So yeah, I can't wait to take these out for a test ride later on. So I noticed that it's 11 o'clock in real time, about 11 o'clock in real time. Kurt, how are we doing on our rundown?
We're doing well. We'll be recording after this a fantastic comic with a fantastic artist by the name of Gorka. He's in Paris, so it'll be about 6:30 his 5:30 his time. And this is going to be great. This will be our second continental European. Tim Hoffman, what was it? Peach.
Was he Germany?
Yeah, he was in Germany. He is on a slow track right now because he does have a newborn. I mean, by now it's closer to probably 1 year old. But we still keep in contact with Tim. But we're super connected to him. And I finally got a hold of Pat Higgins, which was completely my fault. Pat Higgins, we had on for a second time, and he teased us with Hellscape Americana, One Stories. I supported him on his Kickstarter, and he's fulfilled. This is over a month now. So he'll be coming in, I think, like a month from now. I've set him up because March is going to be very jockeying for us because we do have. Here we go. Next week we have Lego. We have Jason Lego.
Right.
And then we go. I think we have that week off, and then we're going to be at IC3, and then I think we end up seeing Pat. So these are the indie creator exchanges that we have. I'm also interested to see. I'm going to be contacting people ahead of time, Jake. You might want to do the same thing, or at least give me a name. When you go to the IC3 website, which is the indiecreatorcomiccon.com, they have everybody listed there, 175 people. So I'm going to slowly start going through, find some people, that, guessing, we could both benefit by having a conversation on our Indie Creator Exchange podcast segment.
Yeah.
Because I do want to be prepared. For me with IC3, Jake, I'm letting go as much of the anxiety or the anxiousness of going. My primary thing is I want to really meet everybody. It's really like, I know we have a table, I secured the table and I've got books. I have a new book I'm going to be unveiling at the show. I'm going to have limited copies of it. It's really outside of anything that I've been doing with you or Crom, and I'm very excited. It's a collection, as a matter of fact, of stuff. But selling comics is one thing when you go to a show, but I think you miss so much of the show by trying to sell something, trying to sell the comics. I know you have to get your ROI, in that, but the amount of creativity that's going to be in there in indie comics is mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. We'll be able to reconnect with Adam Lemna of Relic Hunter. I actually have a meeting I have to do because we have a secret project we're working on together. Eli Schwab just got 2 tons of comics shipped in from China underneath the tariff restrictions. So he did a video on Instagram about that. Really looking forward to. Tomorrow is going to be my last day for pre-ordering books. I've been promoting on Instagram and Facebook. So if you want Crom or any of the other books I have on that website, cromthebarbarian.com, please make that order, because at the end of Tuesday morning, I'll be making my order from my printer, and they will be shipping those print-on-demand copies before the show. But I know you're going to make you blush, but I can't wait to see you. It's been 24 years since I've been in the physical presence of Jake Jacobs. So if anything, it's going to be, great to just be in the same room with you.
Exposed to germs that you haven't been. It'll be fun. If anybody's listening to this after the fact, we had a blast at ICC3. See us next year at ICC3, and check the convention schedule for other events too. But the anticipation is building. We are going to have turbo teasers.
Yes, very few. How many do you have, by the way? Can I just get a head count on how many copies you have of your print run?
I got to have more than 20 still.
Okay, I'm probably just around 20 as well. So I'm going to keep a couple here at the house just to have for the website sales.
Mine are printed and trimmed at a commercial print plant. But
well, I also want to use, that's one of the things when we're going through and looking at and meeting other people. People in doing the exchange, obviously it'll be the easiest way by saving on shipping to do the physical exchange of our teasers with people.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure that we had enough to sell to people, but we also had enough to do an exchange with. So,
right. Good point.
So that's on my list.
Good point. Yeah. Whenever I go to record fair, I end up trading more of the records that we put out than.
I have a feeling that's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's going to happen.
Than paying money. Well, bartering is great, folks. It's been a system since before coins and cash were invented. So, if you want to bring live gooses and ducks, just watch watch out for the bird flu. Make sure they're tested from the avian scourge that's ravaging our eggs these days. But yeah. Well, so did we get through everything in the rundown? Because I have some.
I believe so. I believe so. We need to close up because we got to transition over to.
Okay, I'm gonna just show
just check the email.
A sketch that I made since last time.
That's the only other thing you said. You had new sketches.
Well, there's this. So I'm gonna go hands free now, and this might be.
You gotta blur at the top of your camera there. I guess it's the shadow from your desk.
Okay, so I'm gonna see if I can manage this. I'm gonna go hands free, and I don't usually do this, but I want to show not only this sketch. So this is gonna be Charvel. She is a character that is going to be she's going to be a tall teen that is abducted or attempted abduction by the marauders, but the casualties get there first, and then he will become the first human to be enhanced by teen Elevena in human trials. So if you want to read all about that, subscribe to the Substack. Now here is the tableau. This is your first look at it, Kurt. And
oh my gosh!
And as you can see, it's so big. This is on my biggest pad of paper. I think this is like 18 by 28 or 24 or something like that. Actually, I can measure it right now. How about that? And we have. I started doing this on a small pad, and I said, no, this has to be done on a big pad. The actual art itself is about 20 inches wide. So I have this completely penciled, finally. So the next step is getting it inked and then colored, and then making
a deadline. Aren't you in a deadline for this thing?
No, I missed that deadline, and I submitted some other stuff. So you're talking about the MoMA show for New York City art educators?
Yeah.
I didn't get anything accepted, and I submitted some of my older stuff. I submitted some stuff that looks like this because I didn't finish this on deadline. But what I was going to do was I was going to pencil this all in blue line, which I did, then pencil most of it in black pencil, regular pencil, and then ink some of it. And I wanted to leave a third of it inked, a third of it in pencil, and then a third of it in blue line pencil. And I thought that would be such a great artistic statement from from an art educator, to put on display.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I didn't finish it, and I'm still actually not done. I still have a lot to do. I have to shade the backgrounds and everything, but I can finally show you. So this is going to be starting here, Shankra versus the Peabots. Then we get to the Duke. Then we have a triple. We have Esoteric, Hellclaw, and Kromita, who are the casualties, right? And they all are going to be in a little box here, Then can I reach? Then I can go a little farther here. Okay. Then we have the Q Druids, and it says when science goes secret, the Q Druids. Next is the ironic tragedy of Elavina 2222, and she's a pivotal character. Then we have the dawn of longevity, the sentience, and people can get a good look for the first time. Some are sentient.
Oh my God! Yeah. Damn.
Right?
I gotta say this before I forget. Can you do me the biggest favor in the world? Can
What's
you
that?
scan that? Can you get that pencil, get those pencils scanned, and then have it printed out and ink and preserve those pencils, please?
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you is what's the next step here? Because I could ink this or
I'm sorry. I thought you wanted to go all. I thought there was also color involved. Like you were going to do this as a color piece and everything.
I mean,
I didn't want to assume that I was going to pick up that. I can. I mean, we could both do a version.
Anything. That's why I'm telling you the pencils are done, and I wanted to know what you want to do.
Don't ink over them. Keep that preserved. And we need to create inked versions. I think both of us need to do some inking on that. So yeah, I need a scan of that because that thing is just
right. Well, what I would have to do is I would have to just shoot it with my camera in halves, and then send you the two halves, and they would have to overlap.
You can't do the Kinko thing where you get them to save the halves.
This is way big. I don't know. I'll have to.
18, you said 18 by 24.
Well, the artwork is 20 inches wide, but there's a margin around it too. That's a couple of inches. So I could cut this down. It would be at least 22 inches wide, including white space.
How high? How high is it?
And the height is. The height is 16.
Oh, okay, that's good. Okay.
Yeah, so it's 16 by 20. The art.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get that scanned or whatever. Like, I really want to buy a high res. I really want to buy a high res camera.
Okay. All right.
But it's like $1,500, so I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
I was going through the basement, Jake, and I have a old flatbed 11 by 17 scanner that we might be able to work out something where I bring it along with me to IC3 and
if that works, so 1117, really?
Yeah,
that would fit the turbo pages, yeah.
Exactly. So it was something to help you save on time, but also get me. When you send the stuff from your phone, which is super obviously high res, there's a lot of pushing and pulling I need to do in order to get it squared.
I know,
but it does distort. There is a distort, and it's just the pristine of those pages there, of those characters. They need to be preserved in pencil and then inked, very much in this coloring style that you have going on, which I have an idea that I would like to talk to you about next week. So, but we do need to close this down, my friend, because we want to get together with Gorka in about 10 minutes to talk about his Parisian.
Well, I had an anecdote from my journey to Staples, but I guess we'll have to wait. We'll
keep it on the list. We'll
keep it on
the list. But other than that, once again, Jake and I are going to be at IC3. And if you're watching this after the 15th of 2025, we'll see you next year there. And the next year there. And every year there. I'll have copies of Crom Collected, which is going to be a limited amount of them. But we will also have Turbo Pit Fighter teasers, the number 2 teaser, and it will be there for sale and as well as exchange. But other than that, Jake, I am good. How you got anything on the closing? Do we let these people get back to reading comics, making them if they choose?
Just our final reminder, check out our other channels. We do flip throughs of cool comics all the time. Look for Comics That Influence on YouTube for that. And if you want to see our indie creator interviews, look for the Indie Creator Exchange, all available on the Turbo Pit Fighter channel on YouTube, which is our main landing site and our main home port, whatever you want to call it. And if you're listening to this in the future after I'm dead, please tell my daughters to put out Turbo again. And that's about it.
Awesome. All right. I'll see you in a little bit when we talk to Gorka.
All right. Bye, everybody. See you next week. Yeah. So I was. I'm going